I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I had to adjust the blinds slightly before we got started. I call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The first item that we have on what? What's the question?
It's you didn't get the
Okay, sorry. Yes. Thank you, kind sir. The first item that we have on the agenda this evening, Mr. Smith, is our public forum. We have two individuals signed up. The first, Henry Sasson.
Henry Sasson, 1307 Greenmont Hills Drive in Vienna. I have two items, and first one is last year we spoke about the house off, go straight up 55th. That's cement block, and that's it. Well, a year has passed and nothing's really done. Maybe it's changed ownership, but no construction, no nothing. I mean, can we do anything to help move it along, or go through and ask for, if they're not going to do anything, to fill it in, or we fill it in on their behalf and place a lien against it? So that's number one. Number two is, you guys all know Paul McHenry. She lives up in Greenmont. She reached out to me on Sunday, and she's not able to be here today. She's going to come to the August 13th meeting to talk about this. But I told her she sent me the text, I'd read it, so that way give everybody a heads up. And it says, Henry, this is Paul McHenry, and this is in the city drain in my yard yesterday. She took a video. I have tried to reach someone for help about this for the last 20 years. I have water in my basement every time we have a rain. It gets into my AC and hot water heater. Cannot seem to get the city to do anything. I got Jeremy Wyatt to work with the city and had industrial drains put in my yard. It cost me $24,000. He tells me the city drains are not large enough to carry the water from off the hill. Since I am at the bottom, it all comes to me. She needs to know what she needs to do. So she's going to come the next meeting, which is the first meeting in August, since she's out of town, to talk about this. Okay?
And she sent that, I believe she sent that to all of us.
She reached out, yeah, she reached out to you, Chad, she said about a year ago.
Paula called, just so we're all clear, Paula called me earlier in the week. Paula called me earlier in the week. I forwarded her information and probably the same videos and photographs that she gave you to the mayor and Mr. Metz, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks.
Melvin Turner.
I'm Melvin Turner, 913 22nd Street here in Vienna. It's been 1 year since I was here before and spoke to you all. And I can honestly say nothing has changed. It's like Mr. Sasson said. He's had problems talking about the water. I'm not even going to get into the water problem. That's neither here nor there. It floods, I know it floods, but nothing's ever seemed going to get done about it. What I am concerned about tonight is, along with the flooding, is the trash that's going with the flooding. If you drive up 21st Street right now, it smells like a landfill because people have been leaving their trash out on the street, not on the curb, but in the street, and then the high water comes up and distributes it up and down the street. I mean, it is bad. I don't know if I am supposed to stop and pick it up or who is, but we need to do something about it. And the other part of it is it's been a good year for parked cars with no license. They're multiplying everywhere. We've got to do something. If we need to hire more people to get the job done, that's what we need to do. Grand Central looks great. Don't get off on the side streets. It's sad. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes from the July 9th meeting have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, the minutes will stand as submitted. Moving on to unfinished business, items number 1 and 2 are ordinances on the second reading for the rezoning of certain property. This is for information only on these 2 items because they will be read at the August 13th meeting following a public forum and public hearing meeting. Mr. Do you have anything to add to?
Yeah, well, just that you should have seen 2 legal advertisements in the paper with respect to both of these. And the reason that they're staggered like this is because of the time constraint. The statute requires the notices be published at least 30 days prior to the final hearing. And so that results in us having to skip a council meeting. They're on here just to remind people that we're still working on it. I anticipate that the final vote will be on August 13th. And my understanding is that everything is has moved along according to plan.
Moving then on to item number 3 under unfinished business is the second reading of the ordinance amending Article 953 of the mandatory curbside recycling. Mr. Fogstad, do you want to read that in its entirety or in title?
I think reading it by title is sufficient. So this is just an ordinance amending Article 953, mandatory curbside recycling. If you folks have any questions, just let me know. I'll gladly answer them as best I can.
Do we have a motion to accept the second reading of the ordinance? Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, open for discussion. Having no other discussion, let me make sure that Ms. Rose is still on there.
I'm still here.
All right, we're going to ask Rod to poll the council since you're calling in.
Okay. Councilman Ditzler.
Yes.
Councilman Leach.
Yes.
Councilman Morrison.
Yes.
Mayor Emery.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilman Sassen.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
The ordinance passes on second reading. If you notice in that second ordinance, we have given the option that individuals can continue to use their current recycling tote, the green tote. They can purchase their own, or they can get a 45-gallon blue recycling container with lid and wheels through the city for a $20 fee. That then becomes theirs. They own it. And if they need more than one, they can buy more than one. But we will have those. We will post on the website and social media later this evening when they can start to pick those up. But it'll be a simple one-time $20 fee, and that gives them the purchase of the recycling tote. Moving on to new business, the first item we have is the bid recommendation for concrete and subgrade replacement. These are our yearly contracts that we do. The first one was for concrete, and the individual company that was the low bid or the bid on that was Jimmy Harper Construction with concrete replacement with $30 a square foot, subgrade replacement for $20 a square foot, and sidewalk replacement at $30 a square foot. Do I have a motion to accept the bid recommendation on concrete? I have a motion in a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just to give everybody a heads up, we didn't have a budget and finance meeting on July 7th, so that's why it's on here as a meeting agenda as opposed to going through budget and finance initially.
Any other discussion? Mr. Smith, will you poll the council?
Okay. Councilman Dissler.
Yes.
Councilman Leach.
Yes.
Councilman Morrison.
Yes.
Mayor Emery.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilman Sowson.
Yes.
And I say yes.
Moving on to the second item on the agenda is the bid recommendation for asphalt paving as needed. There were two companies that bid on the asphalt for this year. The first of which was Affordable Asphalt Maintenance, and the second was Brown Asphalt. Comparing the two, the recommendation this evening is to go with Brown Asphalt based upon their submission that you saw within the packet and supporting documents for tonight's meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the bid recommendation for Brown Asphalt for our contractor for this next year?
First.
I have a first and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion? Why would you poll the council?
Councilman Dissler.
Yes.
Councilman Leach.
Yes.
Councilman Morrison.
Yes.
Mayor Emery.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilman Sasson.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
All right, moving on to the third item on our resolution, which is actually a very exciting item on our agenda this evening in the resolution. Do we want to have him present first, then move on the resolution, or do the resolution motion second, and have the discussion as his presentation and questions?
Either way is fine.
And let him talk afterwards.
Either way is fine. I think it would probably be easier if we just went through and just did the resolution and then had the discussion as far as the presentation. That way, if you folks wanted to make amendments or what have you, or adopt the option that's in here, you could do that after hearing the information.
All right, very good.
This is a resolution approving the schematic design direction for the Spencer's Landing Stage Restroom Facility and related site improvements, authorizing the preparation of plans for optional main stage bathrooms and a concession area, and reserving final construction and expenditure approval of council. Do you want me to read the whole thing? Okay. So
We'll be here till tomorrow.
In the packet, I received 3 diagrams. I've listed them all as A, B, and C, or listed each. The Spencer's Landing Stage and Restroom is Exhibit A. Spencer's Landing Restroom, Exhibit B, and Spencer's Landing Stage is Exhibit C. I took the titles from the diagrams themselves. I attempted, in reviewing the diagrams, to draft descriptions of those. Those are contained in the first, well, not the first, but the bulk of the programs that make up the resolution. So in the part that you're actually adopting, council will approve the schematic plan and program that's set out in Exhibit C, the restroom facility and fixtures in Exhibit B, and the related improvements in Exhibit A. Further development and revisions will be dealt with respect to the 4 plans in the second paragraph. The third talks about the restroom and drinking water features. The important one, I think, because it's one that I think that will require the most discussion, and it was not listed in the group of documents that I had, or as far as the schematics, is the optional main stage bathroom concession areas, and I will read them. Paragraph A, council authorizes the mayor's designee to direct the Thrasher Group Inc. to prepare and present proposed supplemental or revised schematic plans for the possible inclusion of additional bathrooms serving the main stage and a concession area. Proposed location and conceptual scope of these optional improvements shall be shown on revisions or supplements to Exhibits A and C, together with any other schematic drawings reasonably necessary to describe the proposed improvements. Paragraph B, the supplemental or revised schematic plan shall be presented to council for review. Council may approve the plans, reject the plans, or direct that further revisions be made. The optional bathrooms and concession areas shall not become part of the approved project scope, unless council expressly approves the applicable supplemental or revised schematic plans. And so it authorizes the mayor to execute any documents as far as to move along for the project development bid preparation, but reserves the right to council to approve all design, final design, and I guess scope of the project, for lack of a better word. And essentially that's the resolution, is to approve the drawings that we have, to allow council the option of adding those additional restroom facilities and what have you tonight if they so desire. If they do add it, then to direct the treasurer to put drawings out, and then we go from there.
Having heard the resolution, do I have a motion to accept? I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, before we have full discussion, I'll invite you to share your presentation.
Great. Thank you all very much for the slot here this evening. I'll try to be as brief as I can. I do have a lot to go through, and I want to make sure everybody understands the designs that we have submitted and prepared for you all. I'm just going to quickly revisit the master plan and make sure everybody understands from a perspective of what we are focusing on in this particular project and what our scope of work that we negotiated was for. So when I was here and got the agreement approved for our design purposes, we were focusing on this restroom facility and the stage itself. Anything else that's shown in the overarching master plan for the project is part of a future phase or an additional scope of work. There was just some reference to the additional build out of stage, concession area, and restrooms there closer to the multi-purpose venue, but we'll discuss that in a little bit. And then in addition to the two buildings, it was to include this roadway parking area, parking behind the stage, and some food truck vendor parking along that roadway extension. So just a quick revisit of the master plan. So kind of fast forward to where we are today with these plans. I want to just focus in on the site plan that we prepared and what this is really illustrating. So the buildings, nothing has changed too much from the original master plan. The building sizes have been more confirmed as far as how big they need to be per the program that we have designed. We did move the stage back a little, about 40 feet from where it was originally placed in the master plan, and that was based off some of the feedback from the recent Freedom Festival and the placement of the temporary stage that was there, the amount of people that you all had at one of the concerts, just trying to give you more green space between the river and the stage itself. So that stage did get moved back a little bit closer to the railroad, but as everything in the parking area is still well within your property boundary. But that is a change that we've made that would be looking for some feedback on placement of that. As far as the building plans themselves, and then I have some renderings that we're going to go through and talk about. This is the floor plan of the stage itself. So the way that was positioned, I'll go back to the site plan again. So the front of your stage is facing out toward the river, and then you kind of have back of house operational side of the stage, which is the same way that this floor plan is oriented. So kind of looking page left on the stage, you have a green room and a restroom area. The main stage area itself is about 30 by 40, not including the steps that are kind of going down to where the crowd area would be. And then you have a storage room over to the right. We do have a loading dock. This would sit 4 foot above finished grade here, so the truck could back up and unload equipment and materials and supplies onto the stage area itself. And then we have a production storage room that kind of goes the entire length of the stage here, as well as an ADA accessible ramp that would allow people to get up onto the stage, as well as just general loading and unloading of equipment that is coming from the parking area. I'm not going to focus too much on that rendering right now because I have a bunch of these to show you different 3D views from around the site, as well as some of the materials. I'll get into that in a second. So I want to just kind of keep going through the floor plans before we get into that part of the discussion. So the restroom building, which is pictured here on the left, we do have a floor plan for that I want to explain, and I'll go back to the site plan just to kind of show you how that is oriented on the project. So you're going to have a door on this side and on this side of the number 1 there that's shown on the screen, and then sidewalks leading to both sides of that. And the difference in those sides of the building is you have a general purpose use restroom on one side that has currently 4 stalls in a women's restroom, 2 stalls in a men's restroom, and 2 urinals, 4 sinks in each. You have drinking fountains, or we could substitute with water bottle filling stations here in kind of the main breezeway entry, changing tables, hand dryers, everything that you would need for a restroom facility. And then on the other side of the building, One of the things that we talked about a lot in the community engagement and the master planning process, or a lot of the programmatic uses that we're going to have at the park, are youth, all ability opportunities with playgrounds, trails, walking paths. And this restroom being located closer to the parking lot was not really intended to be the main restroom facility for the stage and the performance venue itself. It's really, as we discussed in the last time I was here, this is a general everyday use. Can it be used during festivals and events? Absolutely, but this is also just for people who generally want to come and walk at the park, pass frisbee, use a future playground. So we did include 2 family restrooms on this side of the building, also another opportunity for breezeway and bottle filling station. These are also opportunities on some of these walls to mount signage, information, have kiosks about different events and things going on at the park, and even other recreational opportunities in Vienna and the surrounding area. So that's just kind of an overview of that floor plan, and we can look at plans all day, but we did spend some time kind of helping you all understand in 3D what this all could kind of start to look like. So this is a view, almost imagine you're in a plane or helicopter kind of out over the river looking down, looking toward the railroad. This is a view of kind of how this would all be laid out, and starts to kind of give you some scale of the size of the space. These are standard average height people that are shown in the rendering down there below. You can kind of start to see how that's all connected into the existing parking lot, and even in relationship to where the Gold Star Family Memorial is located. As you start to kind of look at the stage from the lawn side, you will notice there is some elevation change. That's what those steps were representing in the floor plan. The stage is sitting 4 feet above the finished grade of the lawn area itself. And anybody who's spent a good deal of time out there, Spencer's Landing looks somewhat flat when you're standing out there. It does have a gentle grade to it, but there is quite a few feet of elevation change from the stage down to the river. So, as you go down away from this, it's sloping toward the river itself, but we did want to kind of put the performers a little bit higher, so that when you're having a crowd that's sitting in a lawn, if they're sitting on blankets or they're sitting in chairs, the performers are kind of just perched up a little bit higher than the people that are in the crowd. As far as the materials, right now, this is fairly similar to the original rendering and schematic that was shown of the stage during the master planning exercise. And this is some of the feedback and conversation we need to get into tonight. We don't need to pick colors of stone, colors of siding, colors of metal at this point. That's a during construction submittal phase design. But what I do need feedback on is, do we like the kinds of materials that we're generally illustrating in these? So, we're trying to use natural stone veneer, board and batten siding, and then just, painted or color, powder coated steel and metal roofing with a lot of these materials. So as I kind of start to pan around, you did see the restroom that had veneer stone base at the bottom, and it had board and batten siding with a slanted metal roof. And we're kind of using a lot of those same types of architectural features on the stage itself, having the siding on the back of this building. And even going back to this particular view, this could be an area that has a backdrop or a screen. There's some opportunities for that. Looking at some of the photos from the Freedom Festival, you had nice banners on both sides of the stage. You had a screen in behind the performing artist. So this kind of shares a lot of those features of that temporary stage, but will be a permanent structure that saves a lot on maintenance and future install. We did have several ADA parking spaces, which is also what this view is showing, kind of closer to the performance venue. And as this gets built out in the future and you have future restrooms and concession stands, that would be close in proximity to that parking space as well. This is as if you're standing on the stage itself, looking out toward the river, kind of giving you, that view in the background, looking toward Ohio. Just trying to, again, pan around the site and give you all different perspectives of what these features will look like. This is the restroom, and it does have kind of more of like a pitched roof from one side to the other, just to not make it just a typical gabled roof. But that's also something, if you guys don't like that, we could go toward a more traditional architectural style. But you can see here what I was referring to earlier, how you have like a little bit of a breezeway. And a lot of that's intended that in the way that we design these restrooms, we don't want the doors just opening up into the main space of the restroom. You want to basically have that door opening up, looking into a wall to provide privacy for people that are using those facilities. So that's kind of, you have this kind of entering breezeway, and then you take a left or a right, and you have the family restrooms on one side, and then you'll have the main restroom area on the other side. This does have a sidewalk that would connect all the way from the Gold Star Memorial down the side of the parking lot and then over to the stage area itself. And that is part of that overall kind of loop trail experience that we've talked about in the master plan. We can go back to that in just a second to kind of show you how some of all that connects. But one of the things that we really tried to focus on with this venue design is just, when it's not being used for a festival or some sort of a concert series, people are just going to come out here and walk. And, whether they're walking their dog or they're on a jog or a run, try to just make sure we have, dedicated pathways throughout. As I said, I'm not here tonight to ask you guys what color siding you like, but this is something I did want to just kind of illustrate. I would tend to lean more towards some of the earth tone colors myself. Our architects just picked the white and kind of the black and gray stone, but there's lots of options with the siding. It doesn't have to be board and batten siding either. I mean, there's a lot of things like that we can get into and then have some discussion about, but I just, again, wanted to kind of talk about some of those items. So before I move on to project budget, I want to talk about, just give you all an opportunity for reactions, questions, comments, feedback on these floor plans, the site plan, and generally kind of the progress where we're at in schematic design right now. Yes, sir.
I got a couple of questions. In your layout, you had trees. Are we planning on putting trees there like that in the future? The reason I bring it up is when you got the glow on the O, you had the balloons, and you got to take that into consideration.
I believe probably just in his drawing, they're there for a visual. That's something that we would do as a separate project that most likely Jack would work on if we did put any type of trees or landscaping larger in those areas. This would simply just focus on the building and the actual construction itself. We would not put in there for the landscaping on those extended areas that they're showing trees to be done.
Okay. The other one I had was talking about the restrooms. You said there was going to be like urinals and stuff. When you go to sporting events and everything for the men's restroom, it's like a big trough. I mean, is that considered or not?
No, they're not doing that anymore. Even in sports stadium design, you go to any new arena or stadium and they all have privacy screens. WVU did renovations a couple years ago and they got rid of the troughs.
Okay. My next comment is go to the stage. The way that layout is set up, we got to figure out a way to keep the birds from being able to roost up inside, because if anybody goes to Grand Central Mall, it's plastered with bird droppings. So somehow it's got to be designed on the underneath where it prevents the birds, or you're going to always be
Roosting.
There are specific things we can add to those steel beams. They're kind of like spikes, but they're not. I mean, it's not harmful or anything.
But the ball like this sticking up, and they're still on them. I'm like, holy smokes.
But that is something you'll have to take into account. I mean, I wouldn't go to the level of playing eagle or hawk sounds, but I mean, there's definitely things we can do to try to prohibit some of that. And a lot of that is also just making sure we can kind of eliminate how much we have some of that exposed. We could even do tongue and groove ceiling on the bottom side of the stage and not leave exposed beams. That's kind of a design feature that it may look nice, but you're spot on. It presents a lot of maintenance issues with birds, especially.
Yeah. And then you talked about the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed down here when I moved, cement doesn't last long. Then when you look at the way they pour cement, it's not like what I was accustomed to with my uncles that poured cement. Up there, they put down rebar, you got fence, you got all kind of stuff. I see driveways that were poured when I was a kid, and I'm 61 now, they're still there. Here, 10, 15 years, it's gone. So I mean, I hope that when we talk about putting in sidewalks or cement, that we put it in for the long haul. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. We want something that's going to last.
Well, so here's what I'll say about that. The concrete mix design, you have to be very careful with what you do with that, and that also has a lot to do with your maintenance routines. If you're using salt on this concrete, it doesn't matter how good you build it or how high quality it is, it's going to erode the concrete.
I understand that. But when you were looking at pouring, sidewalks on Grand Central, I think it's poured cement, there was no rebar, there was no nothing, so it's like, I think the truck hits it or something hits it on the sides, it's gonna take part to chunk out, that's why I bring it up.
So on the same topic, actually, I was sitting here thinking about the sidewalks as well. And I know if you go back to the original rendering of the whole park, and I know originally we had talked maybe asphalt, maybe concrete for the different sidewalks, and I know there's a significant cost difference between the two as far as. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to
Concrete's
ask
a
the
lot more
question.
labor intensive than asphalt is.
As far as actually laying it down, and then is there a benefit to having concrete as far as the longevity of it versus asphalt for specifically just the walking trails? I know on the roads there's a big difference, but for walking trails, is there a big difference there?
Well, that's kind of a tough question because when you look at most like paved rail trails, for example, they're almost exclusively asphalt. But that's also, you're talking about at least a 10 to 11 foot wide path. It's pretty easy for a paver to get down. The smaller pathway you go, the harder it is to maintain and resurface. If you only have a 4 to 6 foot wide pathway, over time it becomes kind of difficult to maintain. Concrete's also easy to just patch, whereas asphalt is not. I get asked that question a lot, and even on something as simple as basketball, pickleball courts. We typically recommend concrete because it does last longer. It also provides a smoother, kind of cleaner walking surface than asphalt does, depending on what type of course you're using. You would want it for a walking path. You'd want to use a pretty tight wearing course that doesn't have very very large gaps in it. But it's also an aesthetic thing. Concrete usually looks a little bit more institutional and cleaner, like something you would see on a college campus, whereas asphalt looks more like, I usually tend to prefer it on something like trails or something that's out in the woods even.
So what you've given us this evening, those are sidewalks that are used for the stage area that's not any part of the actual walking path.
That's right.
That goes around the park itself.
Yeah, I would do this in concrete because you're going to need a concrete curb here anyway to keep vehicles, off of that lawn area. Mm-hmm. So this sidewalk specifically here, I wouldn't recommend asphalt.
Right.
You got heat issues with asphalt too.
Mm-hmm.
When I walk on the concrete, it's hot enough, but
yeah,
somebody barefoot on the asphalt and just.
Go ahead.
Show the front of the stage, please.
Yes, sir.
Would it be advisable to extend the main roof to the right and left so that, I know we want to keep it open so that you'll have ventilation, but if you have rain and even the slightest wind, it's going to blow in on the electronic equipment. I was thinking maybe 5 feet each direction to
just to kind of close these gaps here.
correct.
Yeah, I do think that would make a lot of sense, and really architecturally wouldn't be that difficult to make that adjustment.
Problem is, the prevailing weather comes straight into the face of the stage. It doesn't come, very rarely it will come from the north.
Right.
It's always going to come from the west and straight into the face of that stage.
So Jim wants something that kind of flops down.
Yeah. You just flop it, you can push a button right in front of the stage.
Yeah.
No, but I'm seriously, almost invariably, it's going to come in from that front. If you're on the stage, your front left corner, it's going to come straight in that way.
I don't know how he would know that other than the fact that his house is actually down.
Yeah.
We all know exactly which way the weather comes to each of our homes.
Yeah.
It's amazing because it doesn't change.
So I have a couple questions, I guess, since I was talking anyway. So one of the things from the Freedom Festival, when we had a screen, true. But for example, we had an accounting firm who did their promo because they were sponsored. You could see their painted wall above it, where they were sitting in their office. You couldn't see them because the equipment on the stage blocked everything, right? Mm-hmm. So the screen has to be, I don't know how tall the stage is, but if you want at the rear of the stage to be able to see whatever it is that's being displayed, you have to take into account whatever equipment's on the stage, because it was useless. That's one thing. Can you do the top view of the stage? And this is, the other thing is the viewing area. So with the green room and the storage room, and the restrooms are behind, at the end of the front of the storage room, I guess, from where the door is. Is there any opportunity, or would there be any advisability, and I think you guys have thought this out better than I could, but it just seems like, so you're gonna limit the viewing angle of the stage with those elements. And that might just be the way it is, but that's what occurred to me, because same thing, when we were at Freedom Festival, I kind of just kept walking around. And I have a comment about the green space behind, and we're gonna talk about the spacing for the trucks and so forth, right? Because that was an issue, well, I wasn't part of it, but there was a walk around after the drawings were presented. So that was a question, in terms of the viewing area. And I don't know if you have space to give. You could go to Harry's point in terms of a little bit of block of weather or something like that, but that was a question I had.
Jim, you're talking about?
Yeah, the wing, so you get, because if you're, it's gonna reduce, so if you're set up, not right in front of the stage, you won't be able to see, right? And so, again, I don't know if that's just anything that can be remediated or not. I always thought a green room or something like that was gonna be behind, but, I felt like so I looked at other stages, but there was a concern of mine that, that you don't have that more wide angle view of the stage that I kind of almost expected.
Well, even the very early schematic that's over here on this board, it was more of probably a 45-degree angle, where this is like between 15 and 30.
Yeah, so it's an issue to discuss, I suppose, as we're trying to make decisions here. Then in terms of, I suppose just go ahead and go into it, when you said the loading dock, and then you've got a ramp, and you said back in the truck, and then there was a question about, are we talking about a 48-foot van, 53-foot van, or a 26-foot box truck, right? Mm-hmm. What's coming in, and what do we need to be able to accommodate? Because all of a sudden, if you got a 53-foot van, with a 25-foot tractor on the front of it, and he's trying to angle in there, that's a lot of space. And I think, was that what you were providing for in your original drawings, or what? No. What kind of accommodation are you making there?
Basically just a box truck, and I had some conversations about that and the ability for, to get a semi-tractor trailer to back in perpendicular to a loading dock, you're gonna need every bit of 120 feet.
And I'm not suggesting we need that. I was just curious, because I didn't understand what the original drawing was allowing for. That's what the purpose of my question. But here's the point I want to make, is that with the stage situated, my concerns about the way the stage was situated at the Freedom Festival. First of all, it was too close to Harper's Building. And to Henry's point, when you look at the trees that are in your rendering, what do we do to screen it? That's where we had the beer jail, okay? And so,
Did you say beer jail?
Yeah, you gotta clarify that one.
Because we had this fenced-in 6-foot fence, and behind you had to go in the jail to get a beer. Okay.
Okay.
But in any event, and I realized we'll change that landscape. It was on gravel, it was full of water, and all kinds of terrible things. But it was also right up against Harper's Building, which is an industrial building. Okay, and so the orientation of the stage, and also seemingly pointing straight out versus angled more toward the open expanse, especially if we've got those sides on it. Yeah, so angling it more to, as we're looking at it, to the left. So you have a more expansive view than going straight on. But then in terms of the space in front of it is huge, right? We had the stage. We had probably 10 to 15,000 people at the Saturday night concert with Smash Mouth, right? They were lined up. Then behind that we had an 80 by 120 tent that we had the animal show in. Yeah. That was in that field. And then behind, wasn't it 80 by 120? 40 by 120. 40 by 120. Okay, well the 120 was the long way toward the river, right? So that's the measurement. And then behind that we had another 30 by 40. And then we still had 2.5, 3 acres till you got to the river. okay? So there's plenty of room in between where this stage is, if you wanna give a little more up, plus being that close to the tracks, that close to Harper's building, all right, and that orientation straight ahead are all three things I have a problem with. All right, so that's my opinion.
So you're almost saying for this, when you got the stage, I'll put it at a 45 then.
I mean, consider it anyway, you know, because if,
You got more.
because again, you got all that room. If you go back to the master plan, you know, so if you look, you can get a sense of the scale, and then the covering that's rendered in there, which is more like the bird air covering, right, Jack?
Yeah.
Isn't that what's portrayed there, rendered there? What's the size of it?
Square footage or height or what?
Square footage.
I think it was around 20,000 square foot, that whole pad was.
So dimensions as terms of width and depth. Depth, 60 feet at the most?
That's probably closer to 70 to 80 feet.
80 feet.
I'd say you're looking at, just based off that stage diagram, I mean, you're probably 120, 150 feet.
Sure. So if you look at your marked out green space behind, right? So that 30 by 40 tent did not reach your back line, and that was in, you know, behind or off to the side and behind of the 120 foot tent. So if you get that to scale, you're gonna find you got a huge amount, you got space to give. And then in this rendering, you see Harper's building, and you have those trees there, which I think we absolutely need, and I think we should consider the landscaping that's gonna go in at least there, right? So, you know, that trail again right up against it, and also you know, the right of way for the railroad is 25 foot from the center of the tracks, right, west toward okay, and that's going to be past the ballast of the tracks. You know, that sidewalk that close to those tracks, and we have no fence. You know, I think we could give some ground there too. All right, we've still got that. You know, the tower there that's dead, but it used to be the three-phase tower for Vanderbilt. And you know, that's gone in this rendering. You know, we use that, Jack, but, oh, okay, my bad.
It was just behind Sam.
Well, you know, and I kind of like it, and we used it for banners and displays, and if it's, you know, it could be kind of an interesting feature. I mean, it's not, I don't care necessarily, but, you know, I'd leave it. It could be the beer stout, yeah.
That's the watchtower.
You could put a zip line from the top of it, right? Okay.
Your attorney, I recommend against it.
Who asked you, Russ? Anyway, so those are my
That's
comments. I just think we have some space to give into some considerations, and if we need to get that to scale and really take a look, and then we should, whoever wants to go down and step it off and, you know, stake it out and say, what's this really look like? Because when I was down there, I walked everything, like for an hour and a half, just trying to understand. You know, everything was, there was plenty of room for everybody, for everything that was going on, right? You know, the vendors, the carnival, you know, even the place where the parachute dudes would land, you know, and so anyway, so there's more talking.
All right, so I want to just kind of piggyback on real quick with what Mr. Leach was talking about there. If we could go back to the front of the stage, please. Yeah, either one. Okay. I like the comment about the screen because that was something I noticed as well. But something else that kind of hit me, and I do agree, feathering those out to maybe 45 or whatever, the two wings to kind of give us a better viewing area. But also, I don't know if we would be able to get a screen on either side, or have the width to have, you know, just a projector screen or something that pop, you know, that we can pop down or something like that on the. To allow for, you know, anytime you go to a concert, people are standing clear in the back for you. They don't necessarily get to see.
But we wouldn't be doing front projection. Anything that has to be set up for rear projection of this.
Okay,
So we can't put screens on the outside to shoot this way,
yeah.
because it all has to be rear projection.
And if you're just angling it out, the size of the backdrop's gonna stay the same. You're just changing the angle, right? So if you're wanting.
Oh, and change the angle, it's gonna add a little
Let me-
bit of light.
no, it'll-
That's
It'll
all.
put a little block.
Well, what I'm saying is, backdrop's gonna stay the same. So when you open up the wings, all you're doing, you're increasing the visibility.
So Russ, what I was saying was kind of like making, I don't know how wide this is, but I'm assuming, what, 10 feet or so?
it's close to 10 feet.
Okay, so, and maybe that's big enough, but you know, whenever you go to a concert, they've got the stages up on the side of the screen so the people standing way in the back can actually see what's going on the stage. So I would think those would have to be a little wider and then have a screen or something pointing out to the, you know, pointing out to the side. I didn't know if that was something, does that make sense? Is that?
Yeah, you're saying, you wanna go like you go see George Strait, you want a big screen in the back and then up here to the side, you want a small screen here and here, but you can put screens in. I'm not, that's not.
That is a city
attorney, I'm not.
And I'm not saying that we include that in this. I understand that they don't have anything to do with the screens, but I'm just saying, would we need to incorporate that possibly into the design to have, you know, for the ability to put the screen there? If it were something where we wanted to have the screen.
And coming from projection, that's rear projection. There's no way to do rear projection on the left and right hand side.
Unless you put them up on top of the roof, because that'd be a temporary thing anyway, right? You wouldn't leave those screens up.
No,
on
it's just
top.
something like per use. Like if you had a big name guy coming in, you was expecting, you know, a pile of humans to sit in that lawn to watch it.
Right. Then they would set that up to the left or right of the facility itself. It wouldn't be on the facility.
And I guess this is why I'm not bringing this up to really, I'm just making sure and trying to understand if that's something that needs to be thought out before we kind of sign off on the final design.
Well, I think to the mayor's point, you know, unless you're gonna kind of cordon off an area right adjacent to the stage where you could do front projection, I don't know how you're gonna do that on those building walls itself. I think you're gonna end up with, like in this situation, if I can go back to the site plan for a second, you would have depending on what we do exactly with the restroom concession area over here, I mean, there would even be some opportunities to do like a screen kind of catty corner on the side of the stage. Like you could have one big screen. You wouldn't need screens on both sides because I don't think those building wing walls are big enough for a screen anyway. You're going to need a screen that's probably 20 feet wide, and those are only 10. I mean, I would hate to see you all increase the building cost for something that really is just going to get used in your big events anyway. If you have a small performance, those guys aren't going to have screens. It's just going to be a band up there with their sound equipment.
And screens are always going to be an add-on for production. They always are. They come in, they set them up, they tear them down, and they always go to the left or right if you're doing it in that fashion, but it's not typically something that is part of your stage area. It is an expansion of, but not part of the stage area. And it's always done rear projection. They never do anything front-loaded to be able to do that.
I think we need to make sure we have a dedicated space for something like that. And to a point of some of the other conversations I've had about planning ahead, making sure we have electrical capacity and conduits to reach those areas in the future.
That's kind of what I was hitting at is that something that we need to, if it's going to happen, if it's something that we're expecting to see, you know, a large capacity crowd here and we want to have the ability to have the screen, it's something that needs to be, I mean, I would assume it's something that we would have to plan for ahead of time.
Just Christmas vacation.
That's the extension.
So Sam, moving past this, can you show us the option for the bathrooms? Oh,
Those two first.
go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to bathroom number 1, the restroom. I like the fact that it's mirroring a little bit of the stage and that you have like the slope roof. And I always wanted to make sure that everything complements one another. So I kind of like that concept of collars. I'm not, you know, that's not my area of issue, but I like that. The one thing I did notice is that in your drawing, you didn't have a sidewalk all the way around the building. And I think it's important to have a sidewalk all the way around. So that would be for the restrooms. And if we go to the stage, and this is probably a series of yes/no questions I have. go to the front of the stage that you're showing. I'm glad you mentioned about you'll have in the design that we'll be able to put banners on the side. And I'm assuming since that'll be a design like that, you'll also be able to hang up speakers and lights and all that stuff that goes with concerts, correct?
Yeah, that would be part of the structural design of the roof feature.
Okay, and then the backdrop in the back, you mentioned that already, so I'm glad you mentioned that. In the back will be like whether it'll be a screen or some sort, it'll be there, so that's good. I like the idea that Jim mentioned about having it high enough so people can see it because of the equipment and stuff. I know there are some of our vendors or sponsors, they like to see their name up there, and they like to see the commercial, so that's good. And the other thing, the two other thing is, what's going to be underneath the stage? Is that going to be a crawl space, or are you going to add dirt to it since it's elevated?
It's in the floodplain, so we're going to have to leave it as a crawl space that has free flowing. Basically, it'd have to have like louvers to allow the water to pass through.
Okay, so
Water has to be able to
and
pass
that would be, you'll have a vapor barrier or whatever you put down. It won't be concrete or anything.
Right.
Okay. And then
Well, I mean, we could do a concrete floor under there to keep it cleaner and easier to maintain, especially if you've got, equipment and stuff that.
that's kind of what I was thinking. How high would that be? Did you say 4 feet?
4 feet,
or
yeah.
Something like that, okay. So that may be an opportunity to another area for storage that may need. And then lastly, I think, for right now, from your experience on the green room, is that appropriate, not enough space for a band to go in to take a break where there may be food there?
That's not, I'm gonna talk about the green room a little bit. So what we have shown on the diagram would basically be only for your sound and video operations, and then it has a little break room for the staff that are manning that room. This would not be a dressing room or any kind of a break area for the band itself. So that is something, if we want to discuss adding that to the program, that also really depends on, and I don't know how they did that at Freedom Fest. I assume that they're just hanging out on their bus until they come out on stage. I mean, that's what they do at a lot of small venues where they don't have.
We had a couple camper trailers.
Yeah. So that's something we can talk about, but when I'm calling it a green room, that's just like your operational side of the house. That's not.
So you talked
addressing
about a separate building then to have something like
It could
that?
still be part of this structure, but I think we need to, as we're talking about how we're widening, these wings out and changing these angles, I think we need to look at the depth of the stage and where we would add another room like that if it's something we're interested in making sure it's part
What
of the
would be
structure.
a typical size for that?
You're probably looking, I'd say you're probably in a 200 to 400 square feet for something like that. Depending on how big we make it, and if we add another bathroom to it, adding another bathroom wouldn't be a tremendous cost because we've already got one and the utilities over here. So.
And the question is, how often is that going to be used? We have to stay focused on what the intent is, what the purpose is, and what the main use of this is going to be. We can chase 1,000 options all day long. But at some point, my friends, we have to make a decision on what we're doing. Because we can make this bigger, make that bigger, and by the time this project gets done, we're looking at $15 million because we've added that. We have to stay focused. Let's focus on what the intent is, what the purpose is, and move forward with what the overall project and concept is. And that's what Sam has brought us this evening.
Can I submit to something? Can you hear me? Hello?
Tammy, you're breaking up. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, am I breaking up, Tammy?
Just a little bit.
I couldn't pass up the opportunity.
No,
It was, look, that's taken a lot of practice over the years to get right, but here, let me put the speaker up to the microphone.
I just had a couple comments to make. Well, I have a couple questions to begin with. I haven't heard anything, there was a lot of discussion about the geotechnical investigation and everything. Has that all been done, and was everything okay with that?
No, we're holding off on the drilling until we pin down these structures and where they're going.
Okay. Second, as far as the drawings go, it seems to me, especially the restroom, it looks very imposing for the area, for the space. And I know this is a design aesthetic that'll come more in the design phase, but I'd like to see something that meshes more with the environment, that doesn't stand out so much like a sore thumb. And I know the materials will make a lot of difference, but I don't know if there's anything as far as designing the building later in the process. The other question I had, in the original drawing on the agenda, the stage I think was 30 by 40. Are you saying it's large, in this drawing it's larger?
It's, right now, we're about 30 by 40.
Yeah, I just have a concern about that being too small, especially at 30 feet is width. I mean, when you have a large band up there and you have a large drum set and you have multiple musicians and singers, to me, and I know that's what this decided was at the Freedom Festival, but it just seems like that may be a little limiting for the types of performers and nights that we have in the future. The other question I had was the green room, and you just were talking about that, the size of that, and I don't know what that means, but I mean, the drawing with the restroom and the space and that, to be used, you know, is whatever we decide to do, that just seems like it's too small of an area.
Did you hear the explanation that he gave to
It's like
Rod
a
on
control
this?
center, it's like a control center.
I did, he was cutting out some,
The
but I
explanation,
just wanted to echo,
the explanation that he gave to Rod, and I'm just giving this to you so you can hear it clearly, is that when he uses the term green room, it is not a green room design in the sense of having the band go back, hang out, eat, relax, kick back in between shows or before shows. This is a room that would be for stage staff and various support staff to be able to work from, and the intent would be that, you know, they would still have access to their buses and personal tour vehicles to be able to be in before and after the programs.
okay, so we'll be working on what we want to do with that. The other question I had, and I like to say that what Mr. Beach was saying, all of those things that he had concerns about, I would like to say that I agree with him on those. I especially wonder about the size of the turnaround area beside the stage, behind the stage. I don't know if it's necessary for them to be that wide, and if that can be cut down any, because that's space that can be used for other things. Especially if we then need to add an actual green room, or if we wanted to increase the size of the stage. The other thing I want to say is that throughout this process, even way back from the time that the original master plan was approved, there was talk of focus groups and programming exercises for council to input into this process and input into this design, so to speak. And I don't remember a focus group happening. I don't remember any programming exercise, but I think that maybe that's needed now to kind of fine tune things that we want to see and we want to happen down there. And I know that in the past, Spicer has talked about, you know, making sure that we're looking at what we want in the multi-purpose area and planning on things that are going to be incorporated or will be beneficial to that in the future, as well as the remainder of the development of Spencer's Landing. So I just want to see us be able to take all that into consideration. And I think a focus group or some kind of programming exercise would be good for us to put the finishing touches and wants and needs on this project.
So I will address some of those questions or for statements that you made. Again, we can meeting and committee this process to death. And we can be 2 years from now and no closer. We've had these meetings. Thrasher has had extensive meetings even before we took office when the original plan and focus groups were there. We have gotten past several of these things to be able to get to where we are. I truly believe that we need to, again, focus on our intent, focus on what the master plan laid out, and then be able to take steps to move forward. I believe it would be taking steps back if we continue to go back in special committee and or groups to keep discussing the same items that we have continued to discuss. We just round robin over and over and over again. So with that, and we can stay here all evening and talk about things, but Sam, I really want, okay, I'm gonna move on to let.
Mayor, she needs to leave and finish.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even though we agreed on the master plan and supported that back in 25, you know, every time the Thrasher came to us, they did say that it's just a conceptual plan and changes to be made in time. That was never a set in stone plan. So I'd just like to see us make sure that everything that we want and that everything that everyone said is taken into consideration.
And I completely understand that. Mr. Leach, did you have anything else to add?
I'll say this, just on this point of the stage side. So I just asked Claude. I said, hey Claude, what is an adequate size of a stage for a small city venue that brings bands such as Smash Mouth 1 to 3 times a year? Fair question, right? That's what we just did. For a venue booking national touring acts such as Smash Mouth Theater, established names 46 musicians, play at casinos, fairs, small city amphitheaters, minimum of 32 wide, 24 deep, and 40 by 32. Performance area, though, it goes on to say, a 5-piece rock band needs roughly 24 by 16 clear playing space, drum riser, usually 8 foot by 8.5 high, center rear, guitar, bass, keys spread across the front. But wings, riders at this tier always ask for an 8x8 or larger wing space on each side for monitor console, guitar tech, gear staging. If your deck is only 32 wide, the wings come out of playing space. And so it goes on and say, you know, the acts are flexible and so on. But so these are the things that we saw, because, for example, even with the tribute band, the Journey band, okay, they had their guitar player, then they had their console, and both of them had control consoles on the wings.
Who did you ask? He was asking.
Oh, well, hey, just AI.
AI.
Just saying, tell me, you know, it's just an invaluable tool to get this type of information. It tells us in a heartbeat, you know, this is what they look for. So out of what I read here, the biggest question I would say is addressing this wing space to permit this gear that they want in order for their, you know, for them to, and again, 1 to 3 times, but I agree with what the mayor said. You know, at some point you make decisions, you have to prioritize based on your budget, but we also only get one opportunity to do this, okay? And so if these things that should be considered, and I sent this, and quite frankly, I sent this to Lindsay today, I sent it to Rick Modisett today, I got an email in here from Rick, he had some questions, you know, and Rick has spent, you know, I mean, he books bands, he's at stages all the time, he's a resource, and I don't know what he said yet, let me see if I can find it, I don't know where he sent it. Anyway, so I think this is great. I think what the design concept, everything, these tweaks is all we're talking about, and they're just considerations. And you say, Jim, great idea. You want to spend another $300,000 on that? No. You know, I mean, I get it. Okay, but it's fair conversation right now. That's what this meeting's about.
It is, and that's why I'm here. So I don't want anybody to think that feedback is not welcome, because these are all good points that you all brought up, and I think that there's a lot of room for improvement here on our plan. So this is great. This is good conversation. There are financial considerations that we're going to talk about next, and I think that that's where, you know, we will need feedback on what we're going to prioritize.
Harry, would you like to go ahead?
I just want to thank you for putting it all together and prioritizing the things that are important. And I want to say that these 7 people up here are going to make the decision, and I don't think it makes any sense to have a focus group of people that have no clue as to what's going on here and say they have all the dreams of things that they want, but they don't understand the budget. You have prepared a plan that fits our needs and may not have everything that a focus group or somebody else would want, but it is within what is reasonably possible to get done. And I really appreciate the time that you put in to make this happen.
Thank you.
One really quick thing. Well, actually two. But Jack, what was the size of our stage that we had? Do you know that offhand?
Yeah, I do. It was an SL260 stage. I looked it up to make sure. The main stage was 32 feet wide, 24 feet deep. But it had, if we got extensions on the side of it, it made it 56 foot wide and 32 foot deep.
And how'd that work for our bands?
Well, the extensions are just basically an area that we ran into with like Home Free where they stored all their gear, all their cases and everything, which I'm guessing those side wings or the one side wing would be there. And then across the back, you have a storage area. So
And that's pretty comparable, I'm assuming.
it's
to
close.
what we've got here.
I think we could probably go a little bit wider once we adjust the viewing angles. It's gonna give you some of that extra room that we're looking for anyway.
Yeah.
Would that possibly be a way to
Yeah.
create that?
Yeah, because we're already at 40 feet across the front. I mean, that's not that in the back because that angle, but we can widen it out in the front, maybe even bump a little bit out in the back.
All right, and then lastly, and I just wanted to throw my 2 cents here, just because I mainly love to argue with Mr. Leach, but just kidding.
He's gonna ask.
I do want to
Claudia.
throw my 2 cents in though. As far as the orientation of the stage, I actually like the way it's facing out, kind of directly towards the river. And I think once we kind of open up those wings a little bit, even if we made that right wing almost parallel with our property line, because it is kind of angular towards the river. If we open that right wing up, like it is in the rendering, it's kind of angled, parallel with the property line, something like that. I do think that actually serves the area better. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I do want to react to that comment real quick. No, yours and Mr. Leach's comment about the orientation. One of the things that I felt like has really been controlling us is making sure that it's facing the river where most of the crowd is going to be, but also not forcing crowd to be gathered around a memorial and monument space. That's one thing I just try to keep in mind is that needs to be separate of any event space. It's there for a reason. So if we angle at all, I think it needs to be very slight. Not that we can't make a change, but I do think widening it out is going to give you a bigger view shed and really just trying to make sure we're taking advantage of this space inside of this walkway because we don't want people really, I don't think, hanging out over there during a concert.
You wouldn't have, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'd just like to add one thing about that, is that, yeah, we're focusing on this, but let's not forget the glow we have about if we spend too far, if we move the stage too far out, you are starting to take some of the space away when we bring 10 hot air balloons in, plus 2 balloons that are tethered where people can have balloon rides. So I want you to keep that in mind as well. So somehow we can find a balance in that where we can have the stage in an appropriate spot, but it also allows us to have other events that the stage is not really the center point.
When is your hot air balloon event?
October. It's in October.
Okay.
I have a question. So just mine's to keep you guys on track a little bit. Just give me a second. So we talked about the optional bathroom. Do you have a schematic or diagram for that? Do you have a rough idea of approximately where that would be placed, where the master plan is?
Well, this is the structure that we were talking about. So some of the feedback that I had asked about was, whether or not that needed to include a concession space, and I got some feedback that it probably did, even if it wasn't used as a concession, but even like a retail vendor space for the band selling their merchandise. We need to really zero in on that program, and I will admit it's also not part of our scope right now. So I'm happy to throw that in as just a rough schematic design as part of our current scope, but I can't do any more detailed design work on that structure.
This is what council has before tonight, and this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to get stay on track.
I'm with you.
So we have exhibits A, B, and C, which are the three diagrams that you've essentially gone over, and you have an option for D, which I don't have a diagram, but. So the way I've drafted the resolution is that you can vote to approve A, B, C, and this exhibit, authorize the drawing of the exhibit, the project, send it out for bid, and have a bid for A, B, and C as is drafted, and then have an option that would go out with the same bid for this optional bathroom. So the bid would look like, we're soliciting bids for projects A, B, and C. With that bid, we would like you to also solicit or to submit a bid for an option in D. Give us numbers for A, B, and C. Give us numbers for D. And then it comes back to council, and council could say, well, we're going to approve A, B, and C, and then decide if you want to approve option D or not separately. But you would have the numbers at the same time. It could go out to the same, as part of the same project, and it could be considered by the same builders, if that makes sense. And that's the way
Well,
the
the goal is
resolution.
you wanted everything under the same builder to save on costs in the bidding process.
Right. Yes, and also so you're not piecemealing this and what have you. So, but you have the option when it comes to approving for the construction costs of having phase one, or not phase one, you have A, B, and C, option D, right? And so when you look at it, you can go, we want A, B, and C, spend the money, hire the people, or we want A, B, C, and D, spend the money, hire the people. And that's why I was asking, what does the rough bathroom, you pointed to the structure there. It's a bathroom concession area. How much extra would it cost to give a rough design of what this would look like for council? Or can you just tell them tonight what it would look like so that they can consider whether they want to approve A, B, and C with the option, or A, B, and C and deal with the option at some distant later date?
So I have some general concerns that I just want to make sure we're all on the same page about. So right now we are under contract for survey, geotechnical investigation, and design. We're not under contract for bidding or construction administration. So you all can authorize us to go to bid, but that would also mean you need to authorize us to give you a proposal for bidding and construction administration.
Well, I understand that, but we have to have something to authorize, and that's what we're asking. That's what I'm asking is, how much extra would it cost to come up with a rough idea of this? Can you do that tonight, or would that be something that would have to be done later?
Just to give you a schematic floor plan, we can do that for $1,000. Just tell you that right now. I mean,
Or you just kick it in.
I've actually already offered that in this conversation. I'm serious. I mean, a schematic floor plan, we have interns for another couple weeks, so I can get something done pretty quick.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because what we have tonight we can start with the project with A, B, C, and D, and then decide later if we want to hold on to D, which is the concession bathroom.
It's all budget.
Is the resolution in a form that we can vote on right now?
Yes. You can vote to approve.
I think he's not finished with his presentation.
I like to ask a
Okay, well, I was
question.
going to vote to approve.
I like to ask a question first as far as the bathrooms go, and I forgot to ask this sooner. Are those all no touch? You don't have to, it automatic flushes, the water automatically comes on, wash your hands, and.
Those
Are we that
are,
far along?
we're not that far along.
Okay.
I mean,
And I'll
those are
reserve
good
for
questions. Those are
another
things
day.
I'm gonna ask at some point in our design, but I mean, there's pros and cons to all those fixtures and equipment.
Did you have more presentation?
I have a budget presentation that we need to talk about.
I'd like to see that.
Because that's, at the end of the day, that's the deciding factor on all of this. We have a budget, we've set a budget in place, and I believe we owe it to the residents of Vienna to be respectful of that and stay within that left and right parameter.
So I have prepared a line item cost estimate that I will hand out to you all to study. I did not put this entire 30 line item cost estimate in my presentation. I have it more summarized. But I do want to just kind of go through and talk about where the money in this design is being spent. So this is, if you all didn't make any changes to what we talked about tonight, this is what is in our current design. We have the stage roughly at $870,000, the restroom at $605,000, and then the site development for 1.3. So that's put your construction subtotal at 2.8. We would never recommend you all move into a construction project, award a contract without holding some sort of contingency in place. Change orders are going to happen. You're going to have unforeseen conditions. We try to keep, a practice that if we have change orders, they should be within 5% of the bid that we received. But we usually allow that 10% because sometimes you all also make changes during construction. So that 10% contingency, $280,000. I took the bidding and construction administration fee from the original proposal I gave you all that we tabled, and I just said $75,000 that I pulled out of that. That's a placeholder for now, so that puts your soft cost at $355,000. So that puts us at $3,155,000, which is our opinion of cost. Those are not bid prices. We have to still bid this thing out. We did bid very similar projects to these buildings just at the end of last year, and the Iran war is definitely changing things. There's always escalation, always inflation, always cost increases. But these buildings, I feel reasonably comfortable with the pricing that I'm giving you, where we're at now, based off their square footage, the type of construction that they're at. I know it is hard to hear that a restroom building is going to cost $600,000 when you can build a home for a fraction of that. But it is not public. It's not a public project. It doesn't require the payment performance bonds that public projects require, the labor and skilled craftsmanship for commercial construction. So when you see these numbers, it is hard for people to wrap their head around how something can cost that much money. But I can also show you countless bid tabs from public municipal projects in West Virginia where this is what this stuff costs to build. So here is kind of where we're at. This is higher than my shoot from the hip estimate on what this was going to cost when I was in front of you all months ago. This is based off all of the site work, utility work, which the utility work is a pretty significant part of this. The paving work, which we've talked about eliminating some of the parking area, you all have a ton of asphalt paving in this, probably well over in concrete sidewalks and asphalt paving, you have probably $200,000 just in those line items. So there are substantial places that we can cut this to get it closer to a budget that we want it to be in, but this is where we are at with the current design.
And when you say current design, that does not include the optional concession area bathroom that we've been talking about. That's just exhibits A, B, and C, the things that you've shown us.
That's right. And the bathroom that we have now is around a 1,100 square foot restroom facility. That concession stand bathroom wouldn't be a ton more than that because we probably wouldn't have the two family restrooms, but it would be, I think it would still be over 2,000 square feet by the time we got that.
As a site development, can you go back and talk like the site development concrete work that it does include asphalt work, that does include PV? Point that out.
It includes everything that's shown in this record. Okay. So all of this concrete paving around the stage, the loading docks, the ramps, all of the asphalt paving, the food truck parking area, electrical hookups, sewer hookups, water. This is the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, but something to think about too. The main piece that you initially worry about, make sure you get it right, is the stage. Everything else is going to then build off the stage. Sure. So if you do the stage right in that area right, then the rest could come later. In the interim, until you get more funds, and that's going to be the issue, use porta-johns. Think about it. You're going to build up to something. If you can't get it all in one swoop, you do it over time.
So we're not approving a bid. We're just approving the plan so we can move forward.
That's correct. No money is being spent. No construction contracts are being solicited or awarded. This is just simply to approve a design concept that will be fleshed out and submitted prior to. We haven't even got to the point where we paid them to solicit the bid yet.
So in that respect, you intend to tweak that stage design based on some of the feedback that you have. We want to proceed with getting you to that next step, and then we'll get a re-presentation. Hey, I've looked at this and that, listen to what people said, here's where we are now, and that'll come.
I think I need to come back next month and do a condensed version of this discussion that just shows you what I changed.
Ready to vote?
To clarify, we can bid one part of it at a time. We bid the stage, and when we have the money to get that built, then we can go to the next part and the next part.
Right now, you're just paying for drawings. But I wanna make sure everybody understands what the resolution says so that you can decide whether or not you wanna do it. You have A, B, and C, which are the things that you've seen tonight. That's exhibits A, B, and C. You have an option that is also in there. So I'm assuming if you want to vote on A, B, and C and include the option, you vote for the resolution as it's been presented. If you want to vote for just A, B, and C and deal with the option later, somebody needs to move to amend the resolution to disclude the option and then go from there with the remaining 3 parts of the project.
Russ, do we need to amend the exhibit A?
No, I don't. You don't need to amend the exhibits themselves. There's no exhibit D because I didn't have a drawing for D.
Just because the bathrooms in the different.
This is just, you're approving this schematic,
The basic layout of the building.
Well,
Because
where's the bathroom?
It's changed to it's moved down here. That's why I asked about the exhibit A.
Is that gonna affect the cost any to move the bathroom from where it was in the drawing that was given to us, which is between the the memorial there and that curve?
Big cement sidewalk.
Or is it going to, and it's now been moved, I don't see it on that drawing. Oh, there it is, around the corner. I got you.
That's why I just asked, do we need to amend the exhibit A?
So
It's clear now.
this is the restroom floor plan that we've showed you. This
Okay.
is the stage. This
As long as we understand that that's what we're voting on, because we can just pop the drawing in that he's used there as the exhibit.
That's why I asked.
Okay, then we know we don't have to amend it. We'll just, as long as y'all understand that you're voting on that layout as opposed to the one that's in the exhibit.
Harry?
I move that we approve moving forward with the plan so that we can get this thing going exactly as it is. That allows them to get the plans for everything generally. It doesn't mean we're spending any money on building anything. We need to move forward with the plan, so I move that we approve the resolution.
Oh, and we've done that. Is that with the option or without? With it?
Yeah. We already have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
If we're not making any amendments.
Yeah, if you're making an amendment to get rid of the optional bathroom, the second bathroom, okay, you want to move it just as it is. So it's been moved and seconded just as it is. Includes the option.
In going into this, Sam, that you're going to come back next month with the adjustments that you've heard from.
and I can have the other floor plan prepared for you all that we're going to throw in.
All right, great.
Yes, we need to vote.
Mr. Smith, would you poll the council?
Yes, Congressman Ditzler.
Yes. Congress.
He got promoted. Congratulations.
Almost the best friend.
I know, it's fabulous.
Sorry about that.
No.
Mr. Leach, that was.
Yes.
Mr. Morrison.
Yes.
Mayor Emery.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilman Sassen.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good job.
Ms. Rich.
All right. Well, that ended about a half hour sooner than what I thought they would probably end.
Well, you kept saying focus.
Well, you're trying to keep me on focus there, big boy. That's a good point. Hey, but good use of AI. I like that. That was good. That's the last item that we have on the agenda. Moving on to report standings committees. Go ahead.
Budget Finance meeting, August 4th, 4 p.m.
Planning Commission meetings next Monday at 5:30.
Is there anything else in addition to that on the agenda that you know of?
I don't have anything that's on the agenda at this point on the planning commission.
All right, thank you. Let's see, we've got a couple of things. Moving on to, nothing else, just council comments. Do you want to read the thank you note from Friends of Vienna?
Yes. The Friends of Vienna Vienna council members, the Friends of Vienna, thank you for your generous sponsorship of the Freedom Festival and for helping our community celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary. Your support made it possible to provide a fun, safe, and memorable event for thousands of families and visitors. With sincere appreciation, the Friends of Vienna.
I would like to read and bring to everybody's attention. We have a new event that's coming to Vienna that we have never had before, and it's been spearheaded by Mr. Leach, and he has put considerable time, energy, and effort into it, and I'm very thankful for that. But we have an upcoming event on Saturday, August 29th, which marks something new and never done before in the city of Vienna. It is the inaugural City of Vienna Mayor's Invitational Cup presented by the Friends of Vienna. We're bringing together players of all skill levels for a full day of mixed doubles, pickleball at Jackson Park and Pool. And as the last match rounds up, they're capping the day off with something that is a first as well. It is an inaugural poolside reception and barbecue that will be held with the Polo Club doing the catering and such as they award the very first Mayor's Cup. There will be free childcare for those individuals, and it's highlighted potty trained and up to be able to be provided, which again, Mr. Leach has coordinated and got all of that together. Vienna residents will get their first access to register for this event, so keep your eye out on social media as we post all of this out. I am looking very forward to this event. When Jim brought it to me, I thought it was great. And he's put a lot of effort into it with Jack and Friends of Vienna behind it, so we're going to see an excellent event come from this. So if you're not on the courts, we hope to at least see you poolside August 29th. Now, let me say one quick note. My wife is due somewhere in between that date and that date. So
you're not going to qualify for free child.
So I'm not going to qualify for free child care on that one. Henry, go ahead.
I gotta include golf.
Golf?
Yeah.
Golf?
That's the Henry Sasson.
That's the Henry Sasson. You've got to do that one.
Well, when you talked about the cup, I'm thinking, okay, we got golf.
We
going
even
on.
have our very own logo that has been put into that. But it's things like this that make Vienna great. And I believe we are truly blessed with a council such as we have that are willing to actually get involved and do the work. Not many cities can you look around and you see that individual council members are willing to take the lead and do such great work on behalf of their city. So I'm thankful for the work that each of you do, and we look forward to great times. Did you have something else to add?
Yes. No, not to add. I have something else to add.
Okay.
Not to add.
Not to add, but something else.
You're done.
I'm done. Go ahead.
All right. So just wanted to announce that the third annual nature scavenger hunt will be taking place at the McDonough Wildlife Refuge. This is an event free to all school-age children. It's actually a great time for kids to come out and have a nature hike. They find different items in nature. Everybody gets a medal. It's a really fun event. We've had about 200 to 300 kids come out every single year, and it's been a really fun thing to see. The kids really enjoy it. So if you've got kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, bring them out to the McDonough Wildlife Refuge August 7th. It starts at 10 a.m. and will go until about 1 p.m. We'll have bus rides that take you up to the top of the hill. And I just wanted to take a second to just kind of throw in a plug here. This is being put on by the Wood County Prevention Coalition. I know y'all have heard me talk about it before, but we're really wanting a buy-in from the community. We're really looking for those agencies that are out there that are already existing, that are doing great things for the community. We would love to bring those individuals or organizations into our coalition. That's really what it is. It's a coalition. It's a group of organizations that are really focused on positive youth development. And the more organizations we can get involved in this coalition, the stronger our coalition will be. and ultimately the stronger our community will be. So if you know any groups out there that are interested in joining, that are already doing good work for teens and school age students, we would love to have you in our coalition as well.
Anyone else? Just a reminder, tomorrow we're doing a collection for flood items at the 30th Street Police Garage. We'll be collecting items from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're doing a one-day push to be able to get items to them quickly. I know there's other agencies that are doing prolonged, but the communication I have had with these municipalities affected is they need stuff now. So we're going to do an initial push, see what we can get, and get it to the areas that are impacted from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Vienna was truly blessed not to have been hit the way that other communities have been, and I've always believed that I would want neighboring communities to help us if we needed it. So in part, we need to help them when they need help. So if there's nothing else, this meeting stands adjourned. Pickleball.
Hey, Melvin.
Hey.